Hey there, it's BoardGameDave. Welcome back for part 2 of us working our way through the BoardGameGeek Top 100 list. If you missed part 1 where we looked at games number 100 to 51, you can check that out right there. Otherwise, today we're looking at number 50 all the way to number 1. By the way, like I mentioned last week, there is going to be a giveaway hidden inside this video somewhere, so if you're shrewd and cunning, you'll find out how to enter the giveaway for a chance to win an expansion to one of the games that we're going to talk about today. Alright, let's jump right in. Number 50 is On Mars. On Mars is another game designed by Vital Lacerda, illustrated by Ian O'Toole, and published by Eagle Gryphon Games. This is basically the holy trinity of heavy Euro games right here. Let's take a look. We've got a weight of 4.66, very heavy. We have ages 14 and up, fairly long playing time, and 1 to 4 players. So there is a solo mode, which is fantastic. I've heard some amazing things about this game, but it is extraordinarily complex and heavy, but the components look fantastic. Very nice in their little trays, but oh, there we go. We got some big rocket ships, the player board out here. I don't know a ton about the mechanisms of this game. I assume you're doing some exploration and harvesting resources and building up your kind of base there. It's a competitive game. You're trying to be the best to contribute to this Martian colony. So that's On Mars. Number 49 is The Crew, The Quest for Planet 9. Now this is in my collection. It was actually gifted to me by a student, which was really awesome. But this is a cooperative trick-taking game, and that's pretty much all you need to know about it. There's 4 suits of cards, 4 different colors, and there's rockets that are kind of the trump cards, and basically you're trying to get certain people to get certain tricks, and some players to get no tricks, and one person to get the 7 of green or whatever. And there's like 50 different campaigns in the book that you work through. So it's really interesting. It starts very simple, and then each level gets progressively more difficult, and you're working together to do some trick taking. So real simple premise. Number 48 is The Crew Mission Deep Sea. So this is the sequel to The Quest for Planet 9, and I would assume it plays the same way. The weight is a tiny bit higher, so maybe just harder missions, but I think it's basically the same idea with a different theme, and yeah, just maybe slightly different mechanisms, but same idea here, cooperative trick taking, and this time we're in the deep sea. Number 47 is Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition. Now I'm pretty sure that Lord of the Rings Journeys to Middle-earth kind of use the same framework as this game, so there's probably some similarities here. We have a weight of 2.66, very long playing time, but let's see, players are basically looking exploring the haunted corridors of Arkham's cursed mansions. It's in this Eldritch horror universe, which I said in the last video I'm not super familiar with, but similarities with the Lord of the Rings game here. We've got the miniatures, we've got these map boards. I assume those tiles are going to be kind of flipping new ones as you explore the mansions and all that stuff. And I know there's also dice rolling in this game, which they swapped out with deck building, more of a card system in Lord of the Rings, but there you go. Looks very interesting. Thematically, I like Lord of the Rings better, but this looks good as well. Number 46 is Pandemic Legacy Season 2. Now we talked about Season 0 last time, so this is obviously just a higher ranked version of the game. Same idea here. You're cooperatively trying to handle this pandemic that's raging across the world, and it's set in, well, this is very helpful. Season 2 looks like it's set in a almost not steampunk, but sort of like a Mad Max sort of world here. Very interesting. 2 different covers. I'm not sure why. It's very interesting. I know the Pandemic game, of course, I've played that, but no, I haven't played any of the Legacy games. This is very, very interesting. Number 45 is Anachrony. This is my friend Gary's favorite game, so we've played it a few times together. This is a relatively heavy game by David Turtsey, and in this game, you are time travelers, and there is this impending world-ending catastrophic thing about to happen, and your job is to evacuate people and stall and you know, do the best you can with redeeming humanity, basically. And there's this really, really incredible mechanical idea here, almost the gimmick of this game, where you can borrow resources from yourself in the future, which is such a cool concept. So you travel forward in time, borrow some water, borrow some metal cubes, right? But the cool thing is, if you get to that phase in the game in the future and you don't have those resources, well, that causes an anomaly, enough anomalies, and you end up with a paradox, and the whole time-space continuum starts to shatter. It's just so clever. I don't know how he thought of that, but it's an amazing mechanism, and it works really well. Kind of fuels right into the game here. So really excellent worker placement game with that really cool mechanism going on as well. Number 44 is Maracaibo by Alexander Pfister. This is one of my favorite games of all time. It is extraordinary. It's a fairly heavy Euro in which you, by yourself or with other players, are going to be sailing around the Caribbean, doing all sorts of things of that era. So exploring, you're going to be trading, you're going to be picking up new crew to add to your ship, you're going to be upgrading your ship, sort of like Great Western Trail, by removing these discs. You're also going to be exploring the mainland, fighting alongside the French and the English and the British, no, Spanish, and kind of increasing your reputation with those civilizations. It is just so brilliant. There's so much you can do. It's almost a sandbox game in the way you can kind of explore different avenues. It's so amazing. I love it so much. And, thematically, a little bit questionable here as you're playing the side of the colonizers, but also with the expansion. Let me see if I can find it here. The expansion called The Uprising. This time you get to kind of fight alongside the indigenous peoples and fight the colonizers as they arrive on your shores, which I think is really cool. Haven't looked into that yet, but there's also a cooperative and competitive mode in the expansion. So a lot to explore with that expansion, which is sitting right over there, and I just haven't gotten to it yet. Number 43 is Underwater Cities by Vladimir Suchi. This is a game that I'm pretty sure I've only ever heard good things about, which is really interesting. This is a Euro game in which you're building up this underwater city. So you need to, I don't know a lot about this game, but you're developing the infrastructure down here and putting these domes out for people to live in. I think those are like the cities, and gathering resources and doing kind of Euro type things. So seems intriguing. I would love to play this. It's got hand management and game bonuses, income. I love income in a game, network and route building. It sounds fantastic. And it's got a solo mode. Oh my goodness. This is definitely a want to play. Maybe perhaps a want to buy, although I should look into it more before I commit to that probably. Number 42 is Agricola, the original version. Now, we talked about the revised edition last time. Obviously, this ranked a little bit higher, but Agricola is a game that I've played on the app, and it's fantastic. It's this classic worker placement game from 2007, which actually predates Stone Age. So one of the original worker placement games out there, but in this game, you are running a farm. So you're going to be doing all kinds of farming things and putting out workers to do things like plowing and planting and harvesting and increasing your house size, and then increasing the size of your family so you have more workers to send out and stuff. But yeah, you're gonna have corn, and I don't know if there's pumpkins, I can't remember, and there's also developments that you can do, and a lot of this stuff is borrowed in Rosenberg's later games like Caverna, like A Feast for Odin. So I prefer maybe those later games, but this is kind of the grandpa of a lot of these worker placement games. Number 41 is Pax Pamir. Now, this game has a really interesting and unique theme. Players assume the role of 19th century Afghan leaders attempting to forge a new state after the collapse of the Durrani Empire. Do you know any other games that have that theme? Probably not. This is a game I actually recently added to my want to buy list because I was talking to some people who were raving about it, and also the components are so interesting. You've got this cloth map, you've got there are metal coins you can get, and then these, like, I think they're resin, but these like bricks that you lay on the side and put up vertically, and oh my gosh, so unique. I love the concept of this game, and there's all these leaders you can recruit, and it just seems phenomenal. It seems like a really interesting, unique game. I'm not much of a war gamer, but it seems like there's a lot more Euro than wargaming, and I just am very intrigued. Not the kind of game I've ever played before, and I am down to give it a try. Number 40 is Blood Rage. Speaking of games that are not my usual flavor, but I have played Blood Rage, I think twice now, and this game is one of those big Amerithrash games where you've got all these troops, and there's trolls and Vikings, of course, Viking themed game, and the Yggdrasil, the tree of life, I think, and you're trying to get to Valhalla, and you're doing all this war with your miniatures, and it's an area control game, so you're kind of going to all these different regions on the board and using cards, combat cards, to kind of outwit your opponents and beat them in battle and establish presence in these different regions. I can't find a good picture of the map. But yeah, that's the crux of the game. Oh yeah, and then I forgot, over the course of the game, certain regions of the map are going to become desolated, so the map kind of shrinks down, so you're fighting in a tighter spot. It's really good. I do enjoy playing this game. It's one of the few games of this style that I've kind of been able to come back to and look forward to playing, because again, Euro games are more my thing, but this is a really solid game. Number 39 is Caverna, the Cave Farmers, again by Uwe Rosenberg. This is a more recent game of his. By the way, Rosenberg, I believe, is the most represented designer on the BGG Top 100 with 6 different games, so I'm almost positive. So we'll talk more about Rosenberg games in a bit. So Caverna is sort of the sequel to Agricola. Same idea here. You're in the caves this time, but you're still farming, you're still getting animals, you're doing harvesting and breeding and all that good stuff, increasing your family. But this is really cool because you have the cave side, but also you have the forest side, and you're kind of doing different things in each of those regions. I have not played this game, but it seems very similar to Agricola. I'm sure I would latch onto it right away. Huge board, holy smokes. My goodness, yeah, my friend Gary has this, and we've talked about playing it a lot, but definitely a beast, definitely a table hog for sure. Number 38 is Too Many Bones. This is a pirate-themed, I believe, dice crafting RPG where you're actually customizing the sides of your dice. That's kind of how you upgrade, and then you're rolling them and going on this big RPG quest. So, yeah, seems like the kind of game I'd be into, especially with the theme. I love pirate-themed games, and again, I'm kind of into RPGs now all of a sudden, but I think there's 2 things about this game that I just haven't latched onto. One, it's by Chip Theory Games, and I played Cloudspire several years ago, and I really didn't enjoy it. And you know, not that these are the same at all, but I think that's sort of turning me off a bit. And then 2, the art style is not my favorite. If you look at the art, that's just my personal hang up. But yeah, beyond that, I think it's probably a great game, and I've heard really good things. It's also huge. My friend has the Too Many Bones all in, and it's just like a massive stack of cardboard and plastic and boxes, and it's extraordinary. But yeah, I don't like this guy. I don't like this art, if I'm being honest. But that's Too Many Bones. I'm sure it's a great game. I just don't feel like playing it maybe right now. Number 37 is Puerto Rico. This is a classic game from 2002, and it has this very interesting mechanism. I played this recently, where a player chooses one from a set of different actions you can do, and then everybody follows and does that same action, but the person who picked it gets to do kind of a stronger version of that action. Now, this has been copied in other games since, but I think this might have been the first game to do that, and I think it's very clever. It's such a satisfying way to play a game. But anyway, you are colonizing a certain part of Puerto Rico and establishing, tobacco and sugar and all these different plantations, and putting colonists to activate those different spots. Now, problematic theme for sure. You are, playing the role of these colonizing forces. I think maybe San Juan, which was the re-implementation, I think that was supposed to be like thematically a little different, because in that case, you're like helping the people of San Juan develop their thing, something like that. But anyway, that's Puerto Rico. Very mechanically sound game. Dated theme, but very good, and still ranks 37 after all these years. Number 36 is Marvel Champions, the card game. Now, my friends are super into this game. They play it all the time, and they're all about like when the new heroes drop and stuff. I know virtually nothing about this game, and I was never a comic book kid. I wasn't a DC, AC, Marvel, not into that whole universe at all. So I couldn't tell you about Capitana Marvel or Hulka, She-Hulk. No, this is a different language. Okay, well, that explains it. But even in English, Carol Danvers and I know Peter Parker is Spider-Man. But anyway, so I don't know anything about this game, and I bet mechanically it's great, but I don't know if I'd really play it because I don't have any attraction to the theme, honestly. So number 35 is Barrage. Now, even though I've never played this game, this is the kind of theme that I can get down with. Nations vie for hydroelectric dominance in a dystopia where water is power. I mean, like, come on, that's a theme I can get into. Sounds boring as heck, but in this game, you are, and again, I haven't played this, but you are, trying to monopolize the water resources and setting up these dams and turning it into hydroelectric energy and collecting water resources and transporting the water around, I suppose, maybe some route building. That's my kind of game. Haven't played it, seems amazing. It's got action drafting, contracts, end of game bonuses, income, network, and route building. That sounds fantastic. It's in my want to play, obviously. Number 34 is Food Chain Magnate. Now, this is a Splotter game, and Splotter games are known for making extremely heavy, complex, but very thematic games, and Food Chain Magnate is no exception. From what I understand, you are, running a burger joint, a hot dog joint, or whatever, but what's really cool is like you're actually on this two-dimensional map, so you're establishing your business in a certain grid, and then I think you're doing like advertising and stuff, and changing up, I don't think your menu, but you're like, tailoring and customizing your business to meet the needs of your clients and stuff, your customers. I think that's really interesting. Splotter also makes games like Indonesia, Antiquity, The Great Zimbabwe, Roads and Boats. That's an old game. Bus, I heard, is very, very good too. But anyway, yeah, all these super heavy, very thematic games. Food Chain Magnate, very popular. A beast to learn, but I would be down to try sometime. Number 33 is Mage Knight, a game that's even heavier than Food Chain Magnate. Now, I've heard people rave about this game. I even just met a friend who brought Mage Knight to a game. Now, we didn't end up playing it, but it's really good for solo is what I hear, and there's this immersive, very thematic, engrossing, engaging RPG game where you are a knight and you're increasing your skills and exploring and defeating these monsters and things, typical RPG thing, but it's just people love Mage Knight. So very interested in this. If I got Destinies because it was kind of a lighter weight RPG. If I was going super heavy, this probably would be the one that I'd consider buying and playing. Number 32 is Lost Ruins of Arnak. This is a game that I've played several times. It's a fantastic game, ranked second family game, which I think it's a little heavy for a family game maybe, but it's not so heavy. It's a deck builder game meets worker placement, which was kind of like the big thing of 2020. So you've got these boards and you are sending out your workers to do some resource gathering and to defeat these monsters. And also there's this research track, which is really, really interesting. You're moving your books and your magnifying glass up the track to do research. And I don't know if you can win without focusing on that part of the board as well, but it's very, very clever. And then the deck building side is you gaining these tool cards and artifact cards and using them to, activate certain powers and stuff. It's so clever. It's really well done by first-time designers, by the way, Elwin and Min. There are a couple, I believe, that this is their first game. Unbelievable, really incredible. And I've heard that the Leaders expansion makes it even better, and somehow we haven't played with the expansion yet, or I haven't, so looking forward to that. Number 31 is Everdell. I've got the collector's edition right there. It's a wonderful game. It's worker placement and tableau building set in this very fantastical realm with wooded creatures and rabbits and porcupines. There's all the cards? It can't be all the cards. Some of the cards. It's just very, very adorable. You've got the wanderer, the lizard there, and the bird is the teacher, and the minor mole. It's great. But essentially, yeah, you're sending out your little meeples to location spots in the forest, and also paying resources to put cards in your tableau. So you're going to put buildings out, and then you're also going to put people to live in the buildings. And sometimes, if you have a creature that will live in that building, you get them for free. It's a lot of synergies and things, and then they each have a different power that activates either one time or passively. It's just wonderful. There's different seasons that you activate through, and you're just trying to get the most points and achieve different events. There's a lot going on, but it's a beautiful, wonderful game. It's as a family game, again, kind of heavy for the families I have in mind, but Everdell's beautiful, wonderful game. Absolutely give it a try, or at least look into it if you haven't already. Number 30 is Orléans. This is a really fantastic, very unique and clever bag building game. So you're going to be putting different types of workers into your bag. You start with some basics and acquire some more. You're going to have knights and farmers and like seafarers and kings, and I say monks already, but they're going to go in your bag, and then each round you're going to kind of stir them around and then pull out a couple, and then each worker can activate different spots, and it's just so clever. I mean, there's so many mechanisms that are really brilliant in this game. Oh, and I forgot all about this part, of course, until I played it recently, which is there's this map and you travel around by the roads and the waterways and you collect cheeses and wheat and all that stuff, and it's just so great. One of the things you can do, this is really cool, is so here's your board and you need to pay these workers to activate that thing, right? But over the course of the game, by using technology, which is this wheel, you can cover up those spots, so the requirement to do that action is lower. super clever, brilliantly designed. Orleans, fantastic game, highly recommend. It's in my want to buy. I think there's a solo expansion, so I've been really itching to play it solo, but I have to buy it first. So there you go. Number 29 is Viticulture Essential Edition. I've got mine right here. Brilliant game, worker placement game, very thematic. So a bit of a heavier game, but the theme and the intuitiveness of it really help with the teach. So in this game, again, worker placement, you're going to go out and plant fields, and you're going to put vines in those fields, and you're going to harvest the grapes and smash the grapes and turn them into wine. And it's just really, really thematic. Right? Each year, the wine and the grapes are going to age a little bit, and you can build yokes and a cottage and a windmill, all these things to kind of like build up your engine. And there's a lot of cards you can get. There's fall cards and spring cards, and as you play them, there's special abilities and things. It's very clever. I really enjoy Viticulture. I've enjoyed teaching it to friends who are not super big gamers, and they really like it because, again, well, it's about wine, of course, in Tuscany, so it's got this nice romantic theme, but also because it's intuitive and it just makes a lot of sense. Really good game. Check out Viticulture. It's fantastic. Number 28 is Root. This is an extremely asymmetrical game where you take on the role of woodland factions vying for control of this forest or whatever. But what's really, really extraordinary about this game, and what made it kind of frustrating and hard for me when I played it, was that each faction is playing a totally different game. And it's kind of hard to explain without getting into the big teach of it, but like literally nobody's doing the same thing. Like, you're playing totally different games, and your win conditions are absolutely like polar opposites of everybody else. It's really interesting. The problem with that, though, is in order to play well, or maybe even just to play at all, you need to understand how everybody else's faction works and how they play, because that's going to influence how you play, right? Some games are not like that. They're asymmetrical and you just do your own thing. But in this one, you really, really, really need to know what everyone else is doing. And that makes for an extremely arduous teach, because, man, it's learning how you play, and then, okay, well, let's pay attention to how this other person plays their game. I played it once. I think the teach was maybe just a little bit rushed, and I just was lost. And, so first impression, I should probably give it another try. I just wasn't sure about it. Plus, it's kind of that area control, troops on a map kind of game that I'm not always a fan of, but it's very clever, it's very creative, it's very unique, worth looking into if you like that kind of game. If you like the asymmetry, this might be a game for you. Number 27 is Eclipse Second Dawn for the Galaxy. Now, we already talked about Eclipse. I played it once. It was an extremely long game. It looks like maybe the playing time's less. I mean, it's an hour to 3+ hours. So same idea here. You still got the 4X, you've got the space exploration, putting out your Star Trooper ships all over the board and flipping new tiles and doing all kinds of stuff out there and collecting resources and stuff. So not too much different than Eclipse, I would assume. I'm sure they made some really good changes. Just came out in 2020. But there you go. If it's shorter and more streamlined, I'm all about it. Number 26 is Clank Legacy Acquisitions Incorporated. Now, we talked about Clank last week. That was a push your luck game where you're kind of exploring underground. This takes it to a whole new level. So not only is it a legacy game, so you're working through multiple scenarios, the theme is totally different. You are shepherding your fledgling treasure hunters to immortal corporate glory over the course of multiple games. You're literally like building up a corporation, I guess, which is really interesting. So I'm sure there's all kinds of like investment, portfolio stuff going on, I suppose. Very interesting take on this theme, but that's Clank Legacy. I've heard great things, of course, and it seems like a really good game. I did enjoy Clank a lot. I think this one would take it maybe to the next level, but legacy games, you got to really have people committed to playing the same game over and over, which can be hard to do sometimes. Number 25 is another Fantasy Flight game. This is Arkham Horror, the card game, so a more stripped down version of the game. I don't think there's an app involved, but there still is a campaign going on through this game, and it's that Eldritch horror, I think Lovecraftian, maybe a little bit of Cthulhu sort of vibe going on here. So if you're into that kind of horror theme and exploring and mythical things and all that stuff, this might be the game for you. Number 24 is Wingspan. My copy is actually currently at Hannah's house because we just taught her sister how to play. Wingspan is a really fun game where you are collecting birds into your aviary, and each bird has almost always special powers that they activate, and they require some food to put them into your tableau. below, and you're going to be gaining food and gaining eggs and drawing more bird cards and putting them into your tableau. And it's an engine building game too, because each action that you take is going to get upgraded with the birds that you place. So lots of stuff going on. It's got, I think, 170 unique, beautifully illustrated birds. There's expansions for Oceania and the European expansion. It's just, it's such a humongous game right now. It's such a big part of board game culture is Wingspan. It was like the game of 2019, I think, inarguably. It was like the biggest game of 2019. So beautiful game, just absolutely wonderful components. Female designer, which was kind of big, especially for back then, and also female illustrators and stuff. Just so many good things about this game. Wingspan is just lovely, beautiful, wonderful game. Number 24 is Terra Mystica. Now, this is a game that I played very early in my board gaming journey before I really got into board games. Somehow we went from Dominion to Scythe to Terra Mystica. So I went straight into the deep end. This is a very heavy game, heavy Euro, in which you are going to be, oh gosh, I barely remember the theme here, but you are these different like mythical factions like elves and dwarves and wizards and stuff like that. And you're going to be using your power to establish power and presence in this map. And Terra Mystica, you know, you're terraforming these different regions of the map. So you're turning the mountains into swamps and the swamps into forests and stuff like that. You're trying to kind of, you know, convert the land into your will or whatever. Very heavy. Haven't played it in ages, but I know the Gaia Project is the retheming of the game. I would really be into Gaia Project. This one thematically I just wasn't super into, but I did appreciate, even if I didn't understand the gameplay and the mechanisms way back in the day, back in 2018, maybe 2017. When did this come out? 2012. So somewhere probably around 2017, I was playing this for the first time, and I liked it sort of, but it was just way over my head. Number 22 is A Feast for Odin, one of my favorite games of all time. This is extraordinary. It will probably never leave my top 10 games of all time, if not my top 5. It's got everything I like. It's got Viking, it's got worker placement, it's got kind of engine building, it's got, well, it's designed by Uwe Rosenberg, who I love. It's so, so good. It's got like hundreds of cards, so much replayability, so much to explore. In this game, there are 70 some, I think, action placement spots that you can go to. So sounds overwhelming, but it's not as hard to learn as it probably sounds. Everything's really intuitive, right? You go here and you get a fish. You go here, you spend a coin to get a sheep. You go here to build boats, or you go here to go pillage and plunder. It's awesome. And you're doing all these Viking themed things, but not only just, you know, the big exciting things, but also just things at home, like getting some peas or building a shed or feeding your hungry Vikings and sending them out to explore new islands and stuff. It's so good. There's so much to do. I played this solo many, many times, and I don't get tired of it because it's so exciting, so much to explore, so many different strategies to explore. And if you're into the whole polyomino, putting pieces on a board, it's got a lot of that, right? You got to cleverly manage your green pieces and blue pieces and gray pieces, and they all have different rules. And oh my goodness, so much to do, so much to see, so much to explore in A Feast for Odin. It is one of my favorite games, bar none. It's just so fantastic. Number 21 is Concordia. Now, this is a game that I loved from the moment I learned about it, I think, bought it, played it with friends, and I just think it's such a brilliant game. It all centers around these cards that are different actions, and each turn, all you do is play one of those cards and do the action, but the cards themselves are also the scoring criteria. So as you get new cards to do more actions, they also are your scoring criterion. They tell you what those cards are going to score for. It's amazing. And those actions are going to let you put colonists out on the map and put your trading posts down and produce things like silk or cloth and wine and tools and bricks and food. And it's just so brilliant. It's so streamlined. It's so elegant. And it's super easy to teach because you, on your turn, are going to play a card and do what it says. And that's it, right? And I think this is such a good example of how a game doesn't have to be complex to be replayable, to be good, to be smart, to be so engaging and interesting. And the game was made even better with the Concordia Solitaria expansion. Now I can play the game solo, I can play with Hannah and add a dummy third player, we can play cooperatively together, and it's just made this game so much more flexible and replayable and interesting for me, at least. And this brings us to the giveaway. So I love Concordia Solitaria so much that I have a second copy, which I'm willing to give away. So if you live in the United States and if you write the word Concordia down in the comments, you will be eligible for the giveaway. At some point, I will, go live and spin a wheel and pick one of you wonderful commenters that say Concordia as the winner, and I'll send this to you again if you live in the States. So go down in the comments to find lots of information about the giveaway, just all the details and such, but this is what I'm giving away. If you play Concordia and enjoy Concordia, you need to have this expansion. So please comment Concordia. I hope you win the giveaway. Number 20 is Brass Lancashire. Now I haven't played this one. I have played Birmingham. This one stays much more true to the original with the mechanisms and stuff, just with a totally reworked art style. This was the original Brass Lancashire. Oh, so terrible. Oh my gosh, not good at all. This is the new art direction that they went in, and I love everything about the art in the new Brass games. Oh my goodness, the colors, the tone, the hues. It's great. I know some people don't like it, Connor, but I love the art style so much. I love the dark. I love the gritty. I think it's so amazing. But that's Brass Lancashire. It's more streamlined than Brass Birmingham. It's got less going on. I'm sure that if you've played Birmingham, it would be super easy to play Lancashire. Just relearning some of the rule differences. But yeah, I would love to play this just because I love Brass so much. But we'll talk about Birmingham in a little bit. Number 19 is Seven Wonders Duel. This game is magnificent. One of my favorite two-player games. In this game, you are, head of a civilization, and you're going to be drafting cards from this very curious shape, right, over 3 eras. And as you add the cards into your tableau, it's going to give you science things, or military, or production, or culture, and or commerce. And each of those things is kind of a different strategy or avenue you can explore. So maybe you're going heavy on the military, right? And if you dominate your opponent enough militarily, you win the game. Or maybe you go science, right? And if you ever get 6 different science tokens, you win the game, right? Or maybe you're going culture, which just gives you points. And if you make it to the end of the game, you're going to score all these blue cards. And there's also production going on. And if you don't produce something, you have to buy it from your neighbor and give them coins, which you don't want to do. It's just so brilliant. Plus, 7 wonders, of course. There's wonders you can build that give you special abilities and powers. It's just great. And now there's a print and play solo mode that you can go try. There's so many good things I can say about Seven Wonders Duel. I'm not surprised it's ranked 19 because it is a brilliant game. Number 18 is Nemesis. Now, I don't know much about this game, but it is designed by Adam Kwapinski, who also did Origin's First Builders. So I know he's a great designer, makes some amazing games. This is a sci-fi survival horror game in all its terror. You are in outer space, right? And you are coming across, oh my gosh, this really hideous creature. Look at these miniatures. Holy smokes. Very terrifying. Yes, I assume that you're going to be exploring in outer space and, maybe collecting resources and building up your ship. I really, truly don't know too much about this game, but please don't hold that against me too much. It's cooperative. There's dice rolling. There's hand management, hidden rolls. Very intriguing. Seems like a fun game. That's Nemesis. Number 17 brings us back to Earth with the Castles of Burgundy. Now, I've got my 20th anniversary edition right here. This looks like the original, but they're essentially the same game. So in this game, at its core, you are going to be drafting these tiles and adding them into your duchy. So each tile color does different things, like the animals score you points real simple. The ship tiles let you do some trading and bump you up the turn order track. Castles give you another turn. Buildings each have different special abilities that they do, and the yellow ones give you special powers that are really powerful and really cool. So over the course of 5 rounds, you're going to be, drafting them, adding them to your tableau, basically. And also, as you complete certain regions, you get big points. If you're the first to complete all of your farms on your board, you get more points. It's great. There's a lot going on, lots of Euro-type mechanisms. It sounds kind of boring now that I'm talking about it, but it is a really good game. I've had a lot of fun playing Castle of Burgundy with lots of friends. Number 16 is Scythe. Now, I already said that my friend group went from Dominion straight to Scythe. I don't know how, I don't know why, but we did, and I'm so glad that we did because this game is just so incredible. It's such a phenomenal game. In the game, pretty much you are one of these factions in this sort of like steampunkian universe, and you're putting out troops and workers on the map to collect resources and fight with other players, and do encounters and putting more mechs out there. It's so good. There's engine building, there's momentum, there's troops, there's random encounters. Like I said, you go to the factory and get a new action you can do. oh man, I could go on and on and on. I don't want to belabor the point, but Scythe is so good. One of the first games that kind of opened my mind to, wow, this is what a board game can be like. I had no idea there were games like this. And of course, went from there to much more, all kinds of different games. But Scythe still has a very special place in my heart, and I've gotten to play it a lot, actually, even now. I play it all the time, as much as I can. Scythe is just one of the best games out there, for sure. Number 15 is Dune Imperium. I've played this game several times. It is not as good as Scythe, but it's still pretty good, although kind of really bland in comparison, if you ask me. It's a worker placement game. You put out workers to get spice, to get water, and stuff, and you're getting influence in these different factions. Part of it's I've never seen the Dune movie, so I'm not in the universe at all. I don't know the theme at all, so maybe that's part of it. But then there's also the combat here in the middle, which is just cubes. Like, excuse me, this versus Scythe. I mean, you saw Scythe. I guess it's newer. I think it's like the call to the new thing. I think it's a good game. I really enjoy playing it. I mean, don't get me wrong. Dune is a great game. It's got deck building too, which is kind of cool, but I think Scythe is a much more better, engaging, engrossing, amazing game. But Dune is good too. Number 14 is a classic two-player war game that came out in 2005. It's Twilight Struggle. In this game, players are going to relive the Cold War and rewrite history in an epic clash between the USA and the USSR. That sounds so boring to me. I have no interest in playing this game, and that's my fault. I do really enjoy history, but the Cold War, like, of all the wars, and the board, it's also this old game, a DEFCON status, and the cards look so, I don't want to play this game. I mean, and I'm sure it's good. I guarantee if somebody made me sit down and play it, I'd be like, oh, it's actually really good. But, oh my God, look at this. Asia scoring. So bland, so tiresome, so Microsoft Excel, MS Paint, but oh well. I think it's a good game, but not for me. Number 13 is Great Western Trail, another Alexander Pfister game and another of my absolute all-time top 5 favorite games for sure. I have the second edition right over there. It's just amazing. In this game, you are cowboys herding your cattle all the way to Kansas City to sell them at the market. You're going to ship those cows out to gradually more and more distant cities, and you get points or money by having better quality cows. And you're going to hire, let's go back there for a second, you're going to hire more cowboys, engineers to work on your train track, mechanics or builders who are going to build these buildings out on the board. And I already said last week that I really like games where the action spots, you get to supplement them with action spots of your own. Now, other players don't get to use your spots, but they, as they pass by, they have to pay like a toll. It's just so clever. I have never played Great Western Trail and been like, oh, that wasn't as fun as the last time I played. Every single time, it's brilliant, it's amazing. And now with the second edition, there's a solo mode, which I'm really enjoying exploring different strategies and stuff. Man, I love Great Western Trail. Such a good game. You should go play this game. It's just so good. Number 12 is Through the Ages, a new story of civilization which re-implements the original 2006 game. Again, Vlada Shvatil is the designer here, and this looks much prettier. I like this a lot more. So we've got these wonderful looking cards. We're going to be acquiring them to build up our civilization with famous figures and maybe buildings and things. Look, we got swordsmen, knights, agriculture, alchemy, theology, but then this takes you all the way into the modern era with peace treaties and Bill Clinton and nuclear war and tourism and stuff like that. So you're, doing this epic quest from, I don't even know, maybe Dark Ages all the way to like the internet age. I think it's such a cool concept. Weight is 4.43, yikes. So, quite a barrier to entry, but man, I would definitely play this if I had the time to learn it. I would definitely play this. Looks amazing. Number 11 is Spear Island. Now, I made a review video about it. You can watch right there. I'm not going to go too into it because I already have a video about it, but I don't like it a ton. I know, it's a good game. I said that in the video. I really do think it's a very smart, very brilliant game. It's just not for me. Is that so wrong? No. And I really like, by the way, I really appreciate that the theme is indigenous peoples, native people to their land, fighting off people who are trying to colonize their land. That's awesome. That's like the best thing ever. I love that theme. I'd like to see that in more board games. I think we're starting to see that, like with the Maracaibo expansion. But this game, it's just not for me. It's also cooperative. Cooperative games are not really my cup of tea. So, that's a big part of it. I've heard that solo I would really enjoy it. I bet that I would. I'm just not dying to play it right now. So if you want to know more about my thoughts, you can check that video out. Otherwise, we'll leave it at that. We're in the top 10, people. Holy smokes, guys. I am doing this in one sitting, so whew, my brain is almost fried, but we're going to power through. Number 10 is War of the Rings, 2nd edition. This is a Lord of the Rings themed game in which one player takes control of the free people, the other player controls shadow armies. This is an epic, very heavy game where you are battling over Middle Earth. I have not played it. Again, very complex games like this are a little bit daunting because man, what a commitment to learn a game like this. But take a look at this. We've got these miniatures and we are battling it out, duking it out in Middle Earth. And you know that I love Lord of the Rings. Hannah does too, but this might be a bit heavy, maybe for both of us, if I had to be totally honest. Although, I'm sure it's a really good game. Oh, there's Gandalf. Awesome, awesome. Very, very cool. Looks amazing, especially if you paint your miniatures like this. But yeah, might be a little heavy for my tastes, maybe. Number 9 is Gaia Project. Now, this is the game that re-implemented Terra Mystica into this space theme. I'm all about this, and I definitely would want to play this. Let's see. We are going to expand, research, upgrade, and settle the galaxy with one of 14 alien species. Again, I'm down. I already said that I liked Terra Mystica, although it was way over my head at the time. Now that I've played more board games, I'm sure I could handle this. No sweat. And, using my Terra Mystica background, I'm sure it'd be not too much to learn, I guess, although it is a different game. It looks epic. I like a good space theme, and this would be something I'd be definitely down to play. I just need someone to teach me Gaia Project and someone to play it with me. So yeah, all about it. Yes, A+. I want to play Gaia Project for sure. Number 8 is Star Wars Rebellion. Now, I'm not as much of a Star Wars guy as I am a Lord of the Rings guy, although I've seen many of the movies. In this game, it's an epic conflict between the Galactic Empire and Rebel Alliance for 2 to 4 players. Fairly heavy, although 3.7 is not too bad, but oh my gosh, 3 to 4 hours. That is very epic, and you've got tons of these miniatures. Holy smokes, yes. Epic for sure. Huge board right there. You've got these standees, you've got AT-ATs stomping around there, you've got stormtroopers. Wow. Okay, so that is really epic looking. If you're going for, a not so heavy, super epic Star Wars game, this looks like it will be the one for you. Wow. Very, very cool. Number 7 is Twilight Imperium 4th edition. So this is another holy grail in the board gaming world, of course. It says we are going to build an intergalactic empire through trade, research, conquest, and grand politics. Very heavy, very long. Holy smokes, 4 to 8 hours. Oh, wow. So I know people who have played this, and it's an all-day thing. I mean, you start in the morning and you just play all day long. I don't think I could do it. If I'm being totally honest, I don't think I can make that happen. But man, you want to play an epic game. I mean, this would beat Star Wars Rebellion for epicness, I would say. You got your space fleet, you got your exploration. It kind of gives me that Eclipse vibe. I feel like they're similar in some ways, although I'm sure they're not super similar. But yeah, wow. Epic game, probably not for me. I'm okay with never playing it just because 4 to 8 hours. Oh my gosh, that is crazy. Number 6, we're still in space with Terraforming Mars. Now, this is a huge hit, obviously, in the board game community. You are basically different factions, companies, and you're going to be terraforming Mars, increasing the oxygen, lowering the temperature, I think, getting rid of CO2, and adding water. I think it's 3 of those 4 things. I have played this, and man, I don't know what we were doing wrong, but it took forever to play through this game. I'm not sure what happened. I remember liking it, but it was a little long for my taste. Good game. There's also tons of cards that you can use. You're researching like probiotics and different technologies and stuff, and collecting these different metals, or what are they called? Oh, I know what they're called. Not currents. Oh, credits, right? Space credits is your currency. So yeah, really good game. I would play it again, I think, for sure. And then they have this like card game version of it called Ares Expedition, which is a lot of the same mechanisms, but in a shorter package, smaller package. I like that a lot. So maybe I'd rather play that because this can be really, really long, but I like it just too long. Number 5 is Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. So what they did, and this was so smart, was in 2020, they took the big epic RPG Gloomhaven experience and crammed it down into this very small, easy to jump into, manageable game called Jaws of the Lion. And speaking of me kind of getting into RPGs, when I was looking for kind of an easy to learn beginner RPG that'd be fun to play solo, Jaws of the Lion was one of the most highly recommended. I went with Destiny's because it's a lot lighter and there's dice. I'm not sure if this has dice. Does it? I'm not positive. I don't think so. I think it's more card driven, maybe. But anyways, yeah, Jaws of the Lion seems really epic. I think someday I would like to actually play this solo. It seems like a really cool RPG, questing, story driven scenario, probably a lot more story maybe than Destiny's, but yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, look at this map. I love maps like this in games, detail maps. Yeah, it looks fantastic. I am dying to play something like this where you're, going on a crazy quest and meeting new people and defeating foes and stuff. It seems really, really cool. So definitely in my want to play. I think it's in my want to buy. It is now. Number 4 is Ark Nova. Now this game just came out last year and it shot to number 4 on BGG, which probably tells you something about the rankings. Nevertheless, it's a very good game. I've played it twice. I'll tell you my biggest gripe about Ark Nova. The currency is so garbage. Just hot take, I'm saying it, okay? It's cardboard tokens that are black with white text. Oh my gosh, I hate it. So yeah, the first time I played it, I used the Roxley's Iron Clays. Had a wonderful time. Second time, didn't bring the Iron Clays, I forgot. I was so mad at myself, didn't have a good time. No, not really. But that's the currency. Oh my gosh, so boring. Now, the game is really good, and people compare it to Terraforming Mars a lot because it's kind of this like card-driven synergy thing, right? So you're getting certain animals that give you tags for different locations, which give you discounts on future cards. Each card has a special ability, a special power. You're going to be doing research. You're going to be expanding your park. You're going to be, hiring new people. There's a lot going on. It's a heavy game, but not unreasonable by any stretch. I'm sure, the average gamer could learn this game. It's a 3.7. So yeah. Oh, I forgot the other thing. It says 90 to 150 minutes. Man, it was so much longer the first time we played. I'm pretty sure we were pushing about the 3-hour mark, and that was with 3 players. So man, you sit down to play this with 4, unless everybody knows it well, it would go on so long, I'm sure. But yeah, really good game. I do really enjoy this game. Art is interesting. They use real pictures. If you like photography on your cards, there you go. If you don't, that might turn you off a little bit, but that's Ark Nova. Long game, really fun game, terrible currency components. Number 3 is Pandemic Legacy Season 1. What else can I say about Pandemic Legacy? I still haven't played Pandemic Legacy, any of the seasons. Yeah, but it's Pandemic. It's Legacy. It's a different season. Let me see what the theming is here. Let's see. 12 to 24 sessions. I don't even know thematically what's happening. It's just Pandemic Legacy. So it's more of the same, but this is Season 1. Number 2, on the other hand, is a game that I'm very acquainted with that I could go on and on about for a very long time, and I did. It's Brass Birmingham. You can watch my review right there, but suffice to say, it's a geniusly designed game by Martin Wallace and a couple co-designers, and they took Brass and took it to a whole new level. I love the art. I love the components. I love the gameplay. I love everything about this game. I think there's some cons in that video I made, but it's just incredible. It's a super heavy economic game where you're going to be, transporting and developing coal, iron, and beer resources, and also making breweries and manufactured goods and pottery and cotton. And oh my gosh, I could go on and on. It's another game, sort of like Concordia, that's driven by the cards in your hand. You play a card, you do an action. Not the same way as Concordia, but the cards kind of let you do the build actions. And there's so much network stuff. And maybe this is what makes this game so good, and then I'll stop talking about it. It is that in a way that I've never seen in any other game, what other people do influences you in 1,000 different ways, and in good ways and bad ways. And that's maybe the crux, the really cool thing about this game. People interfere with you, and that's a bad thing, but it can also be a good thing, right? And somebody takes the spot you wanted to go to. That can be a bad thing, but it can really be a good thing. And somebody takes the coal that you built on your own coal mine. That's a really good thing, but it can also be a really bad thing. It's holy smokes. I mean, like, I don't know of another game where other people's turns just totally pivot the game in such a dynamic, extremely exciting, immersive way. Brass is amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. If you're willing to learn this game and really get into the meat of this game, it's brilliant. Find some people that'll play it with you. It'll change your life. It's an amazing game. I said amazing 5,000 times, but it really is just cream of the crop. And we finally made it to the top of the BGG Top 100 mountain. Number 1, what an epic adventure and journey it's been, because number 1 is also an epic adventure and journey. It's Gloomhaven. If you haven't heard of Gloomhaven, where have you been? Let's take a look. This is designed by Isaac Childress. Vanquish monsters with strategic card play. Fulfill your quest to leave your legacy. This is an incredibly epic role-playing game where you are going off, like we said, to fulfill your destiny and vanquish monsters and stuff. It's Euro-inspired, but it's got tactical combat. I haven't looked into this game a ton. I know more about Jaws of the Lion than I do about Gloomhaven, but it's got adventure, exploration, fantasy, fighting, miniatures, action queue, action retrieval, campaign, battle card, driven card, and so on and so forth. Kind of like a choose your own adventure book. Let's take a look at some pictures here so I can stop rambling on at length here. So we're getting items, we're exploring this book. Look at the backstory on each character. Holy smokes, the story is so epic and immersive. Man, seems incredible. It's like D&D but a board game, or like a Euro game or whatever. Man, do I want to play this game? I think yes. I think I'm at the point where I'm ready to play something totally different from my normal wheelhouse, leave the Euro games behind for a second, for a few hours, and play some Gloomhaven, the number 1 game on BoardGameGeek. I think it's been there for quite some time too. So it might be the game to dethrone right now as number 1, but Gloomhaven, epic, extraordinary game in its own right. I think whether you like the game or not, you gotta admit this is an epic, amazing, game that has totally transfixed the board game community. And there we are, everybody. Wow. So I've been recording for an hour and 40 minutes straight. Hopefully I can condense this down into a reasonable video, but thank you so much if you've been watching and sticking around here till the end. I really appreciate you so much. Of course, the whole impetus for making this video was the 2,000 subscribers, and I thought, man, I'm gonna do something, really big, really epic, and I thought doing the BGG Top 100 would be a good way to do that. Thank you so much. Don't forget about the giveaway. If you missed it, go back to, oh gosh, I don't remember what number, but see if you can go find the giveaway criteria in the video. And yeah, leave me a comment. I respond to every comment, like I said last week. So yeah, I'd love to hear all about you and what you think about the BGG rankings and what games I mentioned today that you've played and which one you would recommend. And is there a game I need to try that I've been bashing or something like that? Do I need to play Spirit Island again? Maybe I do, but maybe I will. So in the meantime, have a wonderful week. Take care and happy gaming. Thank you again. I'll see you all soon. Take care. Bye. We'll record that for sure. Hey there, it's BoardGameGeek. Okay, so let's look at these cards. This is not in English. That's not gonna help me very much.